Hi everyone, my name is Mr. Walters and today I'm going to provide you with a lesson on a topic called reverse percentages. It is sometimes called finding the original value. I will show you questions that appear on Unit 1 and Unit 2 of your Mathematics GCSE. Thus, I've approached the questions using two different methods, one for the non-calculator use and the other for use with a calculator. So let's start. Okay, so reverse percentages. We're going to first look at the non-calculator method. This method avoids using decimal multipliers that tend to be used with a calculator and obviously with more challenging values. We're going to use a method where we're going to proportion values on both sides of the equal sign until we get to an original value, and the original value is always going to be 100%. Okay, so let's find the original value of the following. I'll show you an example. The first example, find the original value of a television sold for £800 in a January sale. The sale reduces all of the items by 20% from their December price. Now, I wish to point out here, a lot of pupils will go ahead and do this, which is incorrect. They will say that if we're taking 20% off a value to get £800, what they will do is they will say £800 plus 10%, which is £80, plus another 10%, which is £80, and they'll end up getting £960. But that is incorrect. We cannot do that method for this question, because if we work it the other way, if the item was £960 and you took away 20%, two lots of 96 is 192. If you took away 20% from 960, you end up with 968. Sorry, 768, not £800. So this method is not correct. Okay, so what we do need to do, and this is the method I'm going to show you, and it's a common theme with the calculator and non-calculator. We've got to start off with like a price. We've got to start off with this sort of setup. So from the text above, the reduced price, the original price was 100%. We are reducing it by 20%. So what we have in front of us is 80%. So I wish to make the statement, therefore, 80% is worth £800. Okay, so now we use our method of proportioning, and there's possibly 2 or 3 ways we could end up with the final answer. What we want to achieve, an original value which is 100%. So what I'm going to show you first is I'm going to do this. I'm going to say if I divide that by 8, okay, if I divide that by 8 and I divide the other side by 8, I end up saying that 10% is £100. Okay, but I want to get to 100%, and the original value is always 100%. So what I'm going to do now, to go from 10% to 100%, I'm going to multiply both sides by 10, and I end up saying that 100% is £1,000. That is the original value. Okay, and of course the numbers aren't so bad with this question. If you did take 20% off £1,000, we would end up with £800, which is what this item has been reduced to. I will show you an alternative method of doing that, just to show you that this isn't the one way of progressing through to get 100%. So it's the same common top part, 80% is worth £800. So what I'm going to do on this occasion is I'm going to divide it by 4 and divide the other side by 4. And I end up with 20% is equal to £200. You could choose to add them to get 100% on the left, but I'm going to say multiply 20 by 5 and multiply 200 by 5 to get £1,000. So the original value is £1,000. Okay. I did mention you could add up the 80 and the 20 to get 100. You could add up the 800 and the 200 to get £1,000. Okay. So that's a typical question you would get in the non-calculator paper. It's a reduction, so it's important. It was a reduction there. So we end up saying the original value was 100%, take away 20%. Okay. We're now going to do one where there's an increase. Okay. Now find the original value of the music system sold for £600, which includes an increase of 20%. So what some people do, and it is incorrect, is they say £600, take away 10%, take away another 10%, and they end up with an answer of 480. And as I mentioned here, if you were to go the other way, £480 plus 20% of 480, which is 96, gives you 576. So this is not correct. Okay, so we must use the method I'm suggesting. So this is what I'm suggesting. We say that it's an increased price, so we say 100% was the original value, what we're trying to find, and when we add 20% to it, we end up with 120%. Okay, so the music system is actually priced at 120% of the original. So I'll say, therefore, 120% of the original value is £600. That's the key to it. It's an increase, so you're saying 100% plus 20% gives you 120%, and the 120% is worth £600. And then this is where you're using a method of proportion to try and get 100%. You want to end up saying 100% equals something. So what I'm going to do with the first method is I'm going to divide the left by 12 and the right by 12. So I end up with 10%, and if I divide 60 by 12, we've got 5 and then a naught on the end. So 10% is 50, but I want 100% because 100% is the original value, so I then end up saying multiply both sides by 10, and I end up saying that the original price was £500, the original value. I could do a check on that now and say 500 plus 20%, and obviously 10% of 500 is 50, 20% is 100. So 500 plus 100 takes you up to the new price for the music system, which is £600. So I'm happy with that answer. Alternatively, I'd start the same way and say, well, 100% plus 20% is 120%. So 120% is £600. That's the exact same as above. But what I'm going to do on this occasion, I'm going to divide both sides by 6. And if I divide both sides by 6, I end up with 20%. So share that by 6 to get 20%, share that by 6 to get 100. And then if I multiply both sides by 5, I end up with 100% is equal to £500, okay, which is the original value. And there are, you could even do a takeaway here. You could say 120% take away 20 gives you 100, 600 take away 100 gives you 500. So once you, the key to it is once you've written this statement down, then you're just proportioning whatever you do to the left, you do to the right. But that is the key statement. It's definitely not 80% is £600. You have increased the value of something, so you're adding 100% and 20% to say that that item, which is £600, is actually 120%. Okay, so there are 5 questions for you to try now. I'll show you the 5 questions. Let me just check, 5 or 6. I put 6 questions there for you to try. Now you could try them off the screen, or I provided with this master copy of a worksheet on a PDF. You can look at all of the 6 questions from that worksheet and just progress through them. What I'm going to do is allow you, if you sort of want to keep pace with it now, I'm going to allow you to try 2 questions, and then once you've tried the 2 questions, let me just shrink this slightly. Once you've tried these 2 questions, I'm going to suggest you pause the screen, try the 2 questions, and then I will take you through the first 2, and we'll do the same for the next 2 and the next 2. Okay, so my advice to you is pause the screen, have a go at it now, see if you sort of come to the same sort of answer as I do. Okay, so you should have paused the screen and you should have tried the 2 questions. So I'm going to carry on with this now. So this is how you do the first one. Keyword there, the price of the speakers have increased. So what I'm going to start with is the 100% plus 50% is 150%. So I am making the statement that 150% of the original value is £180. Okay, so I've increased from some figure up to £180. So there's a few ways of doing it. I could divide both sides by 15 to get 10%. I could even divide both sides by 3 to get 50% and then double. But I'm going to do this one. You may have done it slightly different. I'm going to divide, sorry, I'll change that. Divide the left by 15 and divide the right by 15. If you've done it slightly differently, that's fine. We should end up with the same answer. So I'm going to say 10%, And when I divide 15 into 180, I've got £12. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by 10. And what I end up with then is 100% is £120. So £120 is the original value. Okay. And obviously, if I wanted to do a check on that, 50% of 120 is 60. And if I add that on to the 120, I end up with £180, which is this figure here. Okay. As I said, you may have done it another way, but we should start off with that same statement there. Right, the second question. Tom has improved his javelin throw by 60%, so therefore it's an increase. When you throw in an athletics event, you improve by increasing the distance. It's different if you're running, you would improve by decreasing the figure. But this is an increase, so we end up saying 100% plus 30% is 130%. So Tom started off with a throw that was less than 52 meters, but the 52 meters is actually worth 130% of the original. Okay, so I'm going to go with the same idea again. I'm going to divide both sides by 13. And if you're doing a non-calculated question, the numbers should work out quite nice. So if I divide the left by 13, and when I divide 52 by 13, I've actually got 4 meters. Okay. Now, if it ended up being a very awkward number, you know, you're probably going down the wrong path. Okay. So having gone to that stage, I then times each side by 10. And that is the original value. Okay, the original value is 40 meters. And obviously, checking again, 10% is 4, 30% is 12. So if I add 12 to 40, I end up with the 52 meters. That is Tom's new personal best. Okay, so you can pause the screen anytime you wish, but I'm going to show you now questions 3 and 4. And I'm going to suggest to you that you try question 3 and 4. Pause the screen, try question 3 and 4, and then come back to it. Okay. So it's a reduction. Okay, the car is reduced by 30%. So start with 100%, take away 30% is 70%. So the statement I wish to make is that 70% of the original value is actually worth £7,700. Okay, so I'm going to say let's go for 10%. Divide both sides by 7, and I end up saying 10% is equal to £1,100. I'm going to multiply both sides by 10, and I end up with 100%. The original value is £11,000. That's the original value. Okay, and you can do a check on that as well then. Right. Question 4. It's a discount. The car has been sold at a discount, so it's a reduction. So I'm going to start off by saying 100% take away 40%. So the value you see for the car now is actually worth 60% of the original value. So you go and say 60% of the original value is actually worth 9,600. Okay, so I could divide both sides by 20 to say 3% is worth something. Sorry, if I divided both sides by 20, I'd be able to say 20% is worth something. But I'm going to stick to the system I've been going with. I'm going to divide both sides by 6. Okay, and no, I'll tell you what, I'll make a change just to show you it does work. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So therefore I'm able to say 20% is equal to, and you might want to do the bus stop method here. 20% is 3,200. And if you multiply both sides by 5, you end up saying 100%, or the original value, is actually worth £16,000. If the numbers are harder, you can go and do 3,200 times 5, 0, 0, 10, 0 down, carry 1. 3 5s are 15 and the 1 is 16. So I've got £16,000. £16,000 is the original value. Okay, I say I chose on that occasion to work out 20%, but you may have stayed with the method I've gone in the questions above and tried to work out what 10% is by dividing both sides by 6. And once you found 10%, you multiply both sides by 5. Okay, so pause the screen anytime you wish to slow it down. I'm going to show you question 5 and 6, and then we will look at the calculator questions. So there's question 5 and 6. I'm going to say once again, pause the screen, try question 5 and 6, and then I will give you the answer once you resume. Okay, if you've had enough time to do the questions, let's crack on with these then. Whether he's running a 100-meter race or a 200-meter race is irrelevant. His new time is 9.9 seconds, and this improves his personal best by 10%. Now, when we are running a race, you improve by reducing the time. Unlike when we were throwing a javelin in a question earlier, you improve by increasing the distance. Here we are reducing, so we're going to start off by saying this 9.9 seconds is actually 100%, take away 10%, it's 90%. So this 9.9 seconds is 90% of the original. So I'm going to make the statement 90% is equal to 9.9 seconds. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. I'm going to say 10% is 1.1 seconds. And times both sides, or multiply both sides by 10. So the original value of 100%, which we're always trying to get to, is 11 seconds. So once again, you could check that by taking 10%. 10% of 11 is 1.1, and when you take 1.1 off 11, you end up with 9.9 seconds. The last question: an estate agent sells a house for 420,000 the price is 40% higher, so it's an increase. So we're starting off with 100% plus 40% is 140%. So this new price is 140% of the original price, which we're trying to find. So 140% is worth 420,000. So I could divide both sides by 7 to be able to find 20%, but I'm going to divide both sides by 14. Right? You have a choice. I'm going to divide both sides by 14 to find 10%. If you wanted to divide both sides by 7, you could end up with 20% equals. All right. So that's not so bad, because I've spotted that 14 goes into 42 3 times, and then it's so the same old thing times both sides by 10. So 100%, the original value is 300,000. Okay. So if you wish to go through that section again, you can do, just rewind the video. I am going to move on now to the calculator method. So obviously now you'll need a calculator handy, and these questions, this method will also, the method I'm about to show you with the calculator will also work with a non-calculator method. However, the method I've shown you for Unit 1, I'm thinking is the easiest when the numbers are easy. You don't really want to be dividing by decimals like 1.2 or 0.8. I would rather work with that proportion method. But what I'm about to show you, you could, if you're happy dividing by decimals, you could use this method for the 6 questions I've shown you above. Okay. Okay, so with example 1, the shop, pardon me, just turn this down. The shop increased the price of its printers in February by 10%. So it's increased by 10%. Okay, Jamal bought a printer in March for £100. Okay, how much would you have paid for it had he bought it in February? So so what a lot of people end up doing is they take 10% of 100. They take 10% off that. They're saying the original price was £90. However, that is incorrect, because when you then add 10% onto £90, you do not end up with £100. You end up with 99. So this is not the correct method. Okay, so we're going to start this method exactly the same way as we did above. We're going to say the new price is 100% plus 10% of the original price, right? In other words, it's 110%. Okay, now then, 110% needs to be written as a multiplier. So what we do to create a multiplier, and this has been done in a previous lesson, is you end up saying 110 divided by 100, and you end up with a multiplier. You end up with a multiplier of 1.1 or 1.10. Okay, so that's what we're going to work with. So what we go and say then is we say that 1.10 or 1.1 times the original value. So I'm saying the original value is x. You might put another symbol. 1.1 times x, because we don't put the times in when we have algebra. 1.1x equals £100. Okay, In other words, 110%, in the questions above, I would have said 110% is worth £100. So with this, what we end up doing is we want X. I've written it below. So I want X, so I end up saying X is £100 divided by the 1.1 or 1.10. Obviously, to do that without a calculator can be quite awkward. So this is why I'd suggest the multiplier method when it's paper 2. So 100 shed by 1.1 is £90, 91 pence, and that is the original value. Okay, and that's why you need a calculator, because those numbers are quite awkward. Okay, so starts off in the same way. It's an increase. The printer was cheaper than £100, so it went up to a price of £100. So you end up saying 100% plus 10% is 110%. I'm telling you that as a multiplier is 1.1. So we make the statement 1.10 times X is 100, so X then is 100 shared by 1.1, which is £90, 91 pence. Okay, I'm going to do a second question. It's an increase, so once again I'm going to say 100% plus 8% is 108% of the original value. So this year is 108% of the original value. The original value of the car was less than 32,400. So this 108%, I divide that by 100, I end up with a multiplier of 1.08. Okay, so then I make the statement of the multiplier 1.08 times the original value, which I've called X, is this 32,400. Okay, so I rearrange it and say X is equal to 32,400 divided by 1.08. Something you definitely need a calculator for. Now I tap that out on a calculator and I end up with a nice 30,000. What you should get when you do these calculator questions is when you do find the original value, it should come to a nice figure like 30,000 or £10,220 or 200. Right? It shouldn't have a decimal value on it. Okay, so question 3 is this one. Reduced by 12%, so I'm just going to say 100, take away 12 is 112%. As a multiplier, it's 1.12, so I make the statement 1.12. Oh, sorry, it's a reduction. Now, if I'd have pressed ahead with this, it would have given me a silly answer. And it's always about checking your answer to see if it does make sense. Now, it's a reduction, so I should have said 100%, take away 12% is 88%. As a multiplier, it's 0.88. So I make a statement of 0.88 times the original value X is equal to 352. So then I say, rearrange it and say X is equal to 352 shared by 0.88, and I end up with a nice £400. If I'd have carried on with that, my first stab at this question, if I'd have carried on with that, I wouldn't have ended up with a nice number like £400. It's worth checking as well at this stage. £400, if I reduce that, I end up with £352. So it's making sense to me. if I'd have progressed with that first stab at this question, I would have ended up with a number smaller than 352, and it goes against that question. Okay. I'm going to push on from that one. There is a fourth exam. No, there isn't. So we'll do like we did before. Pause the screen. Try these two questions. Get your calculator out. Try them, and then I'll give you the answers in a moment. Okay. I'm assuming you've had time to do the questions because you paused the screen. Okay, so that's the figure. It's been reduced by 4%. So I'm going to start off with 100%, take away 4% is 96%. As a multiplier, that's 0.96. So I'm going to make the statement of 0.96 times the original value is 34,200. So the original value is 34,200 shared by 0.96, and I end up with a whole number of 35,625. Okay. The second question, it was costing 453. It's reduced by that, so I'm going to start off with saying 100%, take away 25% is 75%, so the multiplier is 0.75. I'm going to say 0.75 times the original value is 453. Okay, and x is equal to 453 divided by 0.75, and I end up with a nice £604. Check it makes sense. If the original price of the sideboard was 604, yes, it comes down to 453 when it's reduced, so it makes sense. Question 3 and 4, pause the screen, have a go at them. Okay, this question we've increased by 10% to get to that figure. So I am going to say 100%. The numbers aren't too bad in this question anyway. 100% plus 10% is 110%. So the multiplier is 1.10 times the original value is 330. So when I rearrange it, I say it's 330 shared by 1.10, and I end up with £300. Okay. The next question, pause the screen whenever you wish. The next question, a runner. So a runner is losing or is reducing his time by 15% because it's an improvement, so it's a reduction. Okay, if he was a thrower, he would improve by adding on the distance by 15%. So I'm going to start with 100%, take away 15% is 85%. The multiplier is 0.85, so we say 0.85 times the original value is 170 seconds. Rearrange it, 170 divided by 0.85, and we end up with 200 seconds. So once again, it makes sense. It was taking 200 seconds. We've reduced it to 170 seconds. We've made it smaller. So yes, it makes sense. Question 5. I'll just give myself a little bit more room here. I can't do it. Right, okay. Question 5, we've increased by 18%, so 100% plus 18% is 118%. The multiplier is 1.18. So we make the statement 1.18 times the original value is equal to this price 354. It's not a price, the population is 354,000. So the original population of that town is 354,000 divided by 1.18. Okay, and that gives us 300,000 people. Yeah, so what's happened there, just to check it makes sense, as you always should, you started with 300,000 people and the population went up to 354,000. So it agrees with the wording here that the population is increased. Okay, and the last question. Okay, pause once again and try it. Here we go. It's a reduction by 54%, so we say 100%, take away 54% is 46%. So the multiplier is 0.46 times the original value is 165.6 billion. I'm just going to say the word meters cubed. Okay, so the reservoir has reduced from 165.6 billion meters cubed. If I divide it by 0.46, I end up saying the original capacity of the reservoir was 360 billion. I shouldn't put that comma there. The original capacity of the reservoir was 360 billion meters cubed. Okay, and that's the original value. So I've shown you two different methods. You could employ each of the method for calculator or non-calculator, but I tend to think method 1 is more designed for easier numbers when you're not using a calculator, and method 2 is the best method to use when the numbers are horrible, just like this question in front of us, and you need a calculator for that. Okay, so until next time, thank you very much.